Okay, very good. All right, we're 5 after. It's time to get going. Friday, September 4th. Welcome everyone to the Layer 5 community meeting. Very nice to have all of you. We've got a number of familiar faces and a couple of maybe fresh faces on the call today. It is tradition and maybe even a small rite of passage that if it's your first time on the call, you get to take just a moment to introduce yourself so that everyone can get to know you a little bit, so that you can get familiar with others. And so if it's your first time on the call, please do that. Amaya, you're the first one that comes to mind. Do you want to say a few words and just introduce?
Sure. Thanks once again, Lee. Really appreciate it. Look, basically, I'm working as a cloud DevOps engineer as a contractor in Australia. I'm basically based in Australia. And my current gig is basically to go and much more deep dive in Kubernetes, especially the challenge which I'm facing. So I'm hoping for this, learn a lot of stuff. And I would like to really understand from where I can get started for especially network service mesh. So hoping that in this forum and community with a lot of people, I will be able to learn more from you guys.
That's awesome. That's perfect. You've from my biased perspective, you've come to the right place. Like, hey, the community is, well, singularly focused. Well, maybe that's not entirely true. Singularly focused on service meshes. The thing about that is that means that we generally do a lot with Kubernetes, do a lot with Docker, do a lot with grpc and Grafana, and like there's a long list of tech that gets involved, but we do it from the perspective of a service mesh. So this is good. Yeah, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the growth of the community today, which is to say that there's almost 1,000 folks in the Slack channel that have all joined under more or less a similar pretense. The pretense being that this community is built for what we just said, to focus on this tech. So it's also very much so a community in which we acknowledge that there's a bunch of learners. And I put myself on the side of the learner line, meaning there's a lot of meshes out there and the projects move pretty fast. There are product managers out there like Blake, who leads the service mesh functionality for HashiCorp's console that pushes the product and those teams pretty fast. And so trying to keep up with just one of those, yet, trying to keep up with all of them, yet just one of them is tough. So, but we do what we can here in the community to share. Amelia, there's a couple of resources that we should make sure we get your way. Some light reading and a couple of labs, a workshop that you might find very useful. We should, if we don't get you those links, please say something. We will.
Okay, just one thing here, Lee. I actually was browsing through the content of workshops channel, and I came across a very beautiful workshop. I think it was with you as a starting, and there were a couple of slides in there, but I think there are links which were missing, I suppose. Or maybe if I'm wrong, please help me to correct so I can actually go to the right place. That would be appreciated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm highly interested in any broken links. We'll follow up. But yeah, if you see them, just they won't embarrass me if you point them out, or they won't embarrass the community here. Please do, because yeah. Okay. All right. Very, very good. Nice to have a fresh face. Raphael, is this your first time on this call?
Yes. Hello, community.
Hey, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes. This is my first call on the community. I recently got a mail to join the Slack channel. Okay. At presently, I'm a DevOps site reliability engineer. I work basically within the context of AWS, Azure, as well as GCP Kubernetes infrastructure. I do have experience working with Istio, control plane, as well as data plane, as well as with Envoy IO. A majority of my day-to-day operation basically has to running workload on Kubernetes. As well as hacking containers in terms of workload, and as well as up-down failures. I do make use of service mesh in terms of routing, throttling, security, and layer perspective. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to join the community.
Awesome. That's great. Raphael, very nice to have you. Are you using, you said that you're using Istio today for your service mesh needs?
Yes, we are. We make use of Istio in our current deployment. But we're also looking at options too for other service mesh, because Istio is not the only service mesh out there.
Yeah, you said a mouthful there. If you don't mind, just share a little bit more about some of the attractive things of some of the other meshes, or maybe just some things that Istio isn't quite doing for you. You know, like that would be interesting to hear.
Okay, we do have a challenge in terms of top level security, in terms of hierarchical security, and as well as container security, port security. And in that aspect, at presently we work with StackRox product, So that's another product we do look into in terms of containers as well as containers orchestrator security. So that is an aspect, security level, hierarchical order level security level. That is an aspect that Istio at presently we are kind of having an issue with. So that is it. That is number one.
Very good, very good. I'll comment quickly to say that, I spend a fair bit of time advising container security startups, and I'd spent some time with StackRox when they were stealth, and I get a slight chuckle out of knowing their focus today, and having discussed with them early on kind of their lack of initial container and kind of Kubernetes focus at the time, but now see that they're messaging quite a bit toward that space. So are you guys, clearly you're finding value in what they have to offer with respect to container and Kubernetes security, but it sounds like there's a bit of a gap somewhere between Istio, StackRox, what Kubernetes has. It makes sense. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Raphael, very nice to have you. Thanks for coming. This is great.
Thank you for the invitation.
Oh yeah. All right, very good. If everyone should have these meeting minutes that I'm gonna. Oh no, that's the wrong link. Sorry. Here's a link to the meeting minutes that we'll post into the chat. Please jump into them. Everyone should have access, and if you don't, just request it, and it shall be granted. Great.
Good evening, guys.
All right, very good. Well, let's jump into the agenda. We'd like to take a moment to not only force people to introduce themselves, because it's really nice hearing from you. As a matter of fact, just do what a great couple of stories today. This is nice. But we also like to take a moment to say welcome to others that either are in time zones that can't join the call, or just can't make it, but have joined up here recently. So it's quite nice. A number of you some of you are coming to simply learn. simply hang out and be a fly on the wall, not even say anything other than when you're forced to. Others of you, we can't get to shut up sometimes, which is great. Some of you are here just to cut your teeth on open source in general, irrespective of the tech. Some of you are here to will make your name on some service mesh specific things. Like any and all of those reasons are great. We're really happy to have folks. There's a lot going on actually in this community and outside of the community, sort of in the broader ecosystem. We're a bit privileged and pretty pleased to be able to be something of a forum for really all of the service meshes. We have our arms out pretty wide. Some of those service meshes, like the one from HashiCorp, Console, that community participates pretty well here and has a lot of influence, and it was fantastic. The Octarine, actually, Raphael, kind of an interesting point. There was a security-centric service mesh called Octarine that had recently gotten acquired by VMware, but their focus was on helping people run. Well, it was less about running a service mesh, more about running secure infrastructure, but leveraging, in their particular case, it was leveraging Istio to help deliver security. One of the things that they had worked on earlier on was an envoy filter for, I forget the name of basically a WAF, like a web access firewall. They had taken what's like a fairly popular, well-known open source project that I can't think of that did WAF things, and they had implemented as an envoy filter, and part of their offering was based off of that. Now all the details escape me, but just if you're thinking about service meshes as enhancing security, that's a fantastic, you're totally right. Service meshes enhance observability, monitoring, they enhance control over where things are going. And I'll argue that they are a fantastic foundation for augmenting business logic as well, doing some things that I would consider to be application infrastructure. I think without giving concrete examples, some of what I'm alluding to might not be as obvious. On that note, I won't bore everyone by explaining what I mean. Rather, I'll say that one of the community members here had done a lot of work with some, had written a Rust-based envoy filter to run inside of WebAssembly, specifically to run in a console deployment in Console's data plane. And while this is still a little bit of a novel area, the more novel aspect of what they had done was implement some business logic level rate limiting. The rate limiting was for a subscription plan. So I'll stop there. Hopefully that's enough of a teaser to get you to go check out their sample application and the presentation that they had given. It's called Image Hub is the name of it. So I'll put a link there. Pretty interesting stuff. I really think that part of our computing future has to do with intelligent data planes. It doesn't have entirely to do with that, but I think that there's a lot you can get out of the network. I think I've told some of you this before. That's why I quit Cisco a little while ago. Was because in some respects, out of frustration that there was more to do there with the network and not enough was being done with it. So we're off trying to help people do more with the network. Okay, very good. We got a couple of topics lined up. Karen, I think you've got the first one. Do you want to tell people about this? Is Karen on the phone? You know.
I don't think Karen is on.
Okay, she may not be. All right. Maybe we'll come back to her topic. Next topic up. Well, there's a collection of you.
Hailey.
Yeah.
I am Jesus Lerma.
Oh, hey, Jesus.
Do you think that is a good time to mention about the participation, about contribution? Because maybe if Karen is joining, I can touch that point, or
yeah, please, yeah, go ahead.
Right now, or when Karen is going, because it's related with contribution workload.
You know what? Now is probably a good time, in part because the next topic is actually about contribution and welcome and making sure that folks who are new to the community are being welcomed and introduced. And so,
okay, perfect. We are. I am helping to organize a event online from Latin America, and the whole idea is to help people from Latin America to join open source communities, and we are inviting Measury to join us as one of the communities that we give a workshop about how to contribute community and Layer5 projects. So if there is the idea is one person keep the workshop, and the idea is that they have enough people in the Slack channel to help new contributors. So if there is someone interested in give the workshop or in helping during the workshop, please send me a direct message via Slack. You can find me. My username is Jesus Lerma. I'm going to put it in there. Is the course in my But I think that this is a good time to create this tutorial demonstrating the Layer5 contribution workflow, because it's also near for Oktoberfest, and we are a great community to. In that way, I enjoyed Layer5. In that way, I enjoyed Layer5 last year during the COS event from last year. I met Lee, and I joined this community, and I start contributing last year, and this is a good time to start contributing to. And also, Lee, does it make to you? Does it make sense to you to have a Spanish translation about how to contribute Layer5?
It totally does. Yeah.
Okay.
More than makes sense.
Okay, perfect. We are working on that already. I'm going to create a pull request about that, but just okay.
Please.
Perfect.
Yeah, this is great. Jesus, I realizing now that you're saying this, that I owe you like 2 responses, and I'm behind on getting back to you. I thank you for coming on and calling this out. For those who are unfamiliar with CCOSS, this is an organization that Jesus is talking about, and he's representing here today. Last year, I think was last year the first year that CCOS was?
Yes.
Okay. and it was held in Guadalajara. I had an opportunity to go down and hang out with folks. It's really nice actually, because it was co-time. It was like it just so happened that Mexico's Independence Day was like
Right.
the same weekend.
Yes.
I tell you, I've never had so many tequila worms in my life. I survived. Anyway, point is, I really enjoyed going down to hang out and be joined with just tons and tons of folks who were either already into or getting into open source. And Jesus has been really active in helping, well, I think already having a community, but helping grow the local community there. And Jesus, so maybe I'll pause there and say, hey, there's a link now to not to the workshop, but to the event itself. Folks should check out. I think in part, Jesus, what we've been doing a little bit of brainstorming on, in part, how you're going to be instructing some folks in the ways of open source, and that you're also opening up an opportunity for us to introduce people to Meshery. And so for all of you that are on the call, part of what Jesus is asking you to do is consider whether or not, as a workshop is being given on Meshery, and hence on a few different types of service meshes, if you want to virtually collaborate to receive students and help them with lab questions that they might have. Is that about right, Jesus?
Yeah. If one of you wants to keep the workshop about how to contribute, or if you want to collaborate with the main speaker, it's okay. And if you want to know how to contribute to Meshery, I think that that day will be perfect for you, because the workshop will be from 3 hours, and the idea is that members from Layer5 to be present in Slack. So
very good. Okay. Thanks for this. Jesus, I'll work with you to get some additional info out to folks so that we can.
it's perfect.
Yeah. Very good. On a similar topic, I'll say that there's a few of you who have in the past helped deliver, well, there's more than a few of you who have helped deliver similar style workshops in which you'll be helping walk people through labs, just like the labs that Amiya Agashe was highlighting at the start of the call. There are right now, the workshops that people will find at Layer5IO workshops, they really point back to the same set of labs. And these labs will take you through Meshery, but teach you about service mesh, and it leans into Istio somewhat heavily. We're looking at augmenting those labs fairly significantly to incorporate other service meshes. It doesn't incorporate all the service meshes right now because it is a time-based thing, or rather because there aren't enough people helping create that content. If you're interested in, and so Amiya, as you find defects, please call them out. But I guess the other call to arms here, in addition to what Jesus is saying, is that these workshops shouldn't just be on Istio. It shouldn't just be an introduction to Istio using Meshery, but rather introduction to service meshes at large, which is in part why Meshery was developed. So here's another call to action. If you are interested in helping get some labs going for other service meshes, please drop a line. because we're going to be, there's a few of you who are going to be working on this anyway. And that will tie right into what Jesus is requesting. So, any comments or questions on what Jesus's announcement?
So is he looking for some help for someone to execute the labs, Lee? Perhaps if I understand correctly?
Yeah, I think, to potentially help deliver the workshop as either a speaker at the event, or like co-host, like co-speak, or if that's uncomfortable, to just be present in Slack, to be able to answer questions as people are raising them, to help them execute walkthrough labs. And in part, what I'm calling to is, hey, not all of the labs are there just yet. So if you're interested in working in advance of the conference on what those labs look like, there's opportunity there as well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, Amaya. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, very good. Let's cruise on to the next topic. One of those was very related, and it was the notion that there were, we've had a number of newcomers to the community. And so some of you have organized the newcomers week, is it, I think, a weekly call? Does someone want to talk about this?
Hi, everyone. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. All right.
I can hear you.
So, sorry I'm late. So, this week we actually started a newcomers call. This, like, we had the first one yesterday, being Thursday. So, okay, briefing from it. It was awesome. We had like 10 attendees, over 10 attendees that were newcomers. Okay, 10 attendees that were newcomers. Then we're able to do some quick tutorials on setting up GKL on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Shriti handled the part for Windows, while Alabo handled the part for Mac, and Dev handled the part for Linux. Then after which we did like a short introduction. Everyone on the call that was new did a short introduction, your name and like where you are currently. Then after that, we entertained some questions, and I think Pratia mentioned some issues where he shared with us some issues where he wanted to help on. Yeah, so that was all on that call yesterday, and it was the first one, and we're very happy for everybody that joined. But for those that couldn't join in, we also recorded the session, so we got you covered. Yeah. So that's pretty it. Okay, I think, Lee, please can you paste the newcomers doc here, just in case anybody doesn't wants to check it out. Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm pumped. I'm jazzed about that call. Anybody else that attended have comments on the call? Anyone that attended that maybe was anticipating something, some different agendas, or maybe wants to see a couple of things on that agenda? So this is a fresh meeting happening on Thursdays, right around the same time as this call. It's for purposes of really warmly embracing folks who are new to the community. Some of you there's a variety of technologies that we use, and so some of what's happening here is people are being introduced to that tech. It looks like Jekyll was a topic. Sounds like we use Gatsby here as well. That sounds like that'll probably be a topic at one point. I think, am I putting words in people's mouths if I say that next Thursday is part of the agenda there to introduce people to Meshery itself?
Oh, you're right.
Nice. Good. Okay. So Ruth, Kaleche, Dev, Anita, Javier, Neil, and I guess Shriti as well. Very, really awesome to see the community self-organizing, recognizing a need, creating a meeting, getting an agenda going, getting a recording going, and teaching and sharing with others. Brings a tear to my eye. Just what a cool thing. So neat. Any other comments on the newcomers meeting? All right, very good. Next topic, Josh. You're up.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Hey, Josh. Yeah, take it away.
Okay, so should I present my screen?
Yeah, please, if you would, and actually, yeah, tell folks a little bit about what you're going to show today.
Yeah, I'll present. Okay, so is my screen visible?
There it is. It's coming up. There we go.
Okay, so first I would like to brief about what Layer 5 website currently is, and like currently we are using a Jekyll based website, and we are migrating over to a new generation website based on Gatsby and StrapI. So we do not have wait a second, I'll just present the entire screen. Oh, is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so currently the Layer 5 website looks something like this, and we are moving on to the Layer 5 NG website, which is over here. So the as you would have seen, there are much of issues opened by Shriti for migrating data over to the new gen Layer 5 website, which includes something like partners page or contact page and resources page. So in the current Layer 5 NG website, you can see the links to all of those pages, but they do not, the pages haven't been created, so they land you on a 404 page. So there's just it can't be said it's much simple, but you have to, like, anyone who wishes to contribute to the Layer 5 NG website has to have like a very basic knowledge of React, or I can even create a template for a pages section. So a very basic knowledge of React would also help in creating these pages. So I will like where and how we will be able to do this, I will just explain in a bit. So first of all, if you move to the Layer 5 repo, you won't be seeing the code for the Layer 5 NG website. This is for the Layer 5 website. So for the Layer 5 NG website, you will have to go to the Layer 5 NG branch. And in the Layer 5 NG branch, you will see the code that is currently being used. And for the current preview, you can move to layer5 ng.netlify.app for the current preview of the ng website. So how will you contribute? So you would be like cloning the repo and check out the Layer 5 ng branch. And for the pages, the thing is like if you might move to the source directory, so what you have to do is just create a .js file, like it's a React file for any of the page that you wish to incorporate from the opened issues. For example, if you try to make a brand page, then you just create a brand.js over here and update the link. I think the link is already updated. Yes, you can just create a brand.js and you can add all the things inside it, like you can import the header. So I'll show a demo that has already been made. So this is something like page do 2.js. uh, okay, so here you just have to add whatever you want to, whatever the page should contain in this part, and this will lead to, like, if I this is the page 2. Yeah, so it will be automatically, like, the link would be creating a page and it would automatically deploy at the required link. So you just have to make the changes inside the pages folder inside the source. And so there are many of the issues which requires which requires migrating data, and also it would help you get familiar with the framework we are using. And if you like doing that, or if you get interested, then you can also move into some more details, like using queries and using mdx reformators and such other stuff. So are there any questions?
I think I have one. So yeah, I don't actually do JS, but it's looking logical for me to try. So I want to try out on one. So I understood the flow in which how you went the flow, but my issue is, what do I have? Do I need some things installed on my system to get this running locally? Like, what are the prerequisites? And aside, okay, knowing a little bit, the basic knowledge of React or Gatsby, what are the things I need in my system? Because I think I got like 2% who are willing to try this out, but not actually know how to get started. Like, it's they say change is constant, so I can be willing to try doing that issue. So what are the dependencies or something I need pre-installed on my system to run the site locally? That's the first question. Then the second question is, how do I get the data from the other sites to the content from the other side, the one with GKL to the one with the Gatsby. Yeah. So that's my question.
Okay, so regarding the first question, I think, okay, Shriti, you may go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh. I was going to explain Tanuja's resource. You can do the same.
Yeah. So as Shriti mentioned, as in the chat box, you could see the link sent by Tanuj, the instructions to run the Layer5 ng site. It contains all the complete instructions, from the beginning point of view, how do you clone the the repo, and what are the dependencies, or how do you install Gatsby and all the other stuff, and how even you run the development server. So all these steps have been already mentioned, and I think we will be also trying to refactor that, and it would be very much useful for this the first question, as you mentioned. And regarding the second question, the thing is, what you have to do is, you will have to see the issue which it corresponds to. For example, if it corresponds to a resources issue, then you will go to the master branch and see the resources page, and you will pick up the data from over there and just copy paste it to the page that you created inside the Layer5 ng website named resources. And if there are a few some issues, or something a few HTML tags won't be work, I don't think there would be any something like that. But yeah, if there are a few issues that could be sorted very quickly, and yeah, that's all that you have to do to just migrate the data from the master branch.
Yeah, I'll send you a message on Slack later. Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone has any issue like replicating the behavior or running the server, they can message me or Tanuj or Shriti. Like we would be highly like enthused to help you all. Over to you, Lee.
Oh, nice. Oh, for my part, I'll admit that it can. Well, I'm trying to share the screen. I'll admit that it can be a little bit not obvious that there's a single repository that houses two different sites, and the fact that both sites can be running at the same time, and it makes it even maybe more confusing. And the fact that they're running, it's not just like two different sites using the same framework, it's two different web frameworks and stuff. So kind of neat. And it's not really magical in any way. Really, there's one site that's under the master branch. I think I'm repeating some stuff. Under master branch, and the other site that's under Layer5 in a different branch. Both of them have long-lived preview deployments, or deployments that kind of show the latest, that show head, the latest merge for each branch. And Tanuj and Josh and a collection of others are working on that. They provided some links here in the meeting minutes about it. And there's a call on Mondays called the websites call that goes in fairly deep. Actually, a lot of the agenda ends up being on the new version of the site. And so good call to jump into. Folks. Hey, speaking of calls, this is a different one. This I'm going to make a call for a volunteer. If no one volunteers, that's okay. It's not a big deal. It's been something that's been plaguing the community for a little while. And actually, I guess it would be interesting to ask Raphael and Amia if when you joined Slack, if you felt like you were, well, one, warmly received, but then two, very quickly received. The more folks that we have joining, the easier it is for someone who joins new to kind of slip past the radar and not really get warmly welcomed. And part of our goal is that everybody's welcome and everybody's got something to offer, and so we don't want to let people slip by. We're using a chat bot right now. It's called a greet bot, or it's called greet bot, I think is literally the name. It's not very good. It really didn't do much. Matter of fact, it's been a long time since I've heard from greetbot, but and yet a lot of new people are still joining Slack. So the call for a volunteer is, if anyone is interested in creating a Slack bot, please signal. Please raise your hand. The goal, while a Slack bot can do any number of things, probably the first goal, or the reason we're calling for it, is to help notify a few of the community managers that someone new has joined.
I can check something about that tomorrow. And what can I document that in an issue, right? Or
please,
or
yeah.
where can I follow up this? Because it will be not in the repository, right?
Yeah, we'll actually quite possibly create a new repo for that custom Slack bot.
Okay.
Maybe it would do some service mesh things later. But yeah, Jesus, today there isn't even an issue created on this. If you're inclined to create one, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Else, if you don't in the next couple hours or so, we'll go get one created. I'll tag you on there just in case you want to follow up on thoughts.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that it's that others can't participate if it's of interest to you. So, don't be shy. There's a couple other topics that I can speak to, but really nice when not everyone has to listen to me yammer on for a long time. We have a couple other topics. Dev, you had one to chat through today.
Hello.
There he is. Hey.
Yeah, okay, fine. Hey, hi everyone. So today I want to discuss about this gRPC web thing, and it was pretty new to me. So the discussion is about we want to change the API that we are using in the backend of our of Meshri, right? So we want to change it. Right now we are using REST API. So there was a discussion that we can change it to something like gRPC web, so that we can just implement the gRPC services, gRPC backend services, and the browser will just talk to that thing. So that was our goal. So basically only use the gRPC services to implement this thing. Okay. And so there's this one product and one open source thing, gRPC web, which is also implemented by the gRPC org. And so what it basically does is, so the issue is you cannot implement gRPC in the web for the web browser, and there are many reasons to it. There are security issues like CSRF, course, all these things are implemented for the REST APIs, for the HTTP protocol, and not for the gRPC thing, right? And there are so many other issues related to this. For example, one issue is that the browser, the APIs the client APIs that it gives to the website are just fetch, XHR, Ajax. These are the APIs that it voids the client side browser, right? So now what happens is, to implement gRPC, we need a very low level control on network wire, because we have to do some binary stuff. Another one reason was that the browser basically wants to use only text and not the binary formats. And there was also another reasons that they were not able to implement this gRPC for the browser. So now we have a problem that if we cannot implement gRPC for the browser, then what we have to do is we can basically create a gateway API, right? So what will happen? There will be a proxy that is sitting in between the browser and our server, and what it will do is the browser will send HTTP request to that proxy, and that proxy will change that request in some way and will call the gRPC server API. So that is a very intuitive way that how we can implement gRPC for the web. And in fact, gRPC web did the same thing. Okay, so what they did was they created a proxy that will sit in front of our server, and every request will go to that server, will go to that proxy, and the proxy will handle all those things. Okay, so that is how gRPC web is working. So before going forward, I wanted to just show you how you can use gRPC web and implement that in your browser. So Lee, can I share my screen?
Please.
Oh, sorry. Hey, is my screen visible, right?
Yep, we can see your screen and we can hear you now.
Yeah, great. You can see this readme file, this web page, right?
The Hello World Guide.
Yeah. So it was a really great guide to basically help you started with using gRPC web. So I will just go over this thing and we'll show you how to implement this thing, and then I will go over how they implement that. What is the underlying architecture for gRPC web? Okay. So for this thing, yeah. So what you have to do is you have to simply create a proto file that you normally do for creating a gRPC service, and this is our creator service that will just say hello, and that's it. After this, what you have to do, you have to implement your service. You can implement your service in gRPC service, the server, in any language, Golang, Node.js, any language you want to do that. And now what you have to do is you have to configure the proxy. I didn't like this part actually. So for this gRPC web, the one thing that is a prerequisite and that is necessary for this thing to work is we have to set up an envoy proxy for this thing. Why? I will come to that. So what we have to do is we have to set up this envoy proxy, and in this envoy proxy configuration file there is this one thing, HTTP filters, one key value HTTP filter, and in that HTTP filters you have to add this envoy.grpc web. So from now you so gRPC web is nothing but a filter that is created for our envoy proxy, and what it will do is gRPC web will just look for the requests that will come with some particular header like gRPC or gRPC something, and then it will just forward it to the gRPC server. That's it. It is a gRPC, it is a envoy filter, and that is why envoy is a prerequisite for this thing. Without envoy it won't work. Okay, so after that, now about the client code. So we can use the Proto-C compiler that we are using to create our servers and all those things. Now using that compiler, what we have to do is we have to just provide it with the plugin, and that is this Proto-Gen gRPC plugin, gRPC web plugin, and it will create some files for us like this: hello world pb.js, hello world gRPC web pb.js. And what we have to do is we have to just import these clients, these messages from these libraries, and our client code, that is the JS file that we will send to the browser, will look something like this. Just we will initiate it with the address on which the envoy proxy is listening. This address is the address on which envoy proxy is listening, and note the address for the for our gRPC service. Okay, and we will just do this request new hello world request.set name. So this thing is very similar to how we are used to doing the gRPC thing in the web. It's in the machines itself, not in the browser. In the some machine, some Docker containers or something, and it is pretty much similar to that. And now we have to just we just have to add it using Webpack and all those things that we generally do with our JavaScript files, and we can then ship this thing. Like you can see here that it is just using Webpack to combine all this thing into one JS file. And but now, so our gRPC, okay, and now what we have to do is we have to just share these JavaScript files, the HTML file we created for our frontend, and we have to ship it over to the browser. So there is service running that will ship. There is a service, or you can say server. Some server is running that will ship these web pages and JavaScript files to the browser. The browser will read those files and it will make code to the envoy proxy. Envoy proxy will see, okay, these are the gRPC codes, and I have to forward these gRPC codes to this gRPC server. So now what it will do is it will basically forward them to the gRPC server. And how gRPC server is working is it's exactly the similar way that it was working before, and it's just that envoy proxy is there to basically translate the request that is coming from the browser in a format that the gRPC protocol can read and basically respond to. Okay, so and there is a lot of development that they have to do in this thing. So right now, as we know that gRPC, what gRPC offers us, it's offer unary calls. That is only single request and single response. That's it. A client will request for something, the server will respond with something. And other than this, there is streaming options, right? We can offer client-side streaming, server-side streaming, and bidirectional streaming. Right now, it's the only thing that is supported here is server-side streaming and unary streaming, and they have to develop the code for the other things too, for bidirectional streaming and client streaming. It is currently not there. And another thing they are trying to develop, and it is in their roadmap, is that they want to they don't want to use envoy as a proxy. They are just creating their own some kind of own proxy that will be shared with the gRPC web module, and you don't even have to implement. You don't even have to set the config file for the proxies or something. It will handle everything for you. We can just we can just use the gRPC web module to generate our JavaScript files that will be used in our websites, and it will handle everything. But that is translating the request that is coming from the browser to the gRPC so that it will so that gRPC can read that and respond it. The gRPC server will respond to this proxy, and this proxy will basically forward the response to the to our browser, and that is how this thing is working. So right now there is a lot of work that they have to do, and like they are missing a lot of features, like I talked about bidirectional streaming, client-side streaming, but it's it's a great tool. It means we can use this tool, but right now the state it is in, means my view is that we should go with the RESTful APIs, or APIs not that is using the HTTP protocol and not the gRPC protocol. So yeah, that was it, and I think you may have doubts about this thing. So yeah.
Dev, overall, that the sort of that overall recommendation is based on the status, how far along the project is, your sense of its readiness.
Yeah, actually, I have seen the tutorials, I have seen the documentations that are from the last 2 years, and there is not much change in them. So basically, it is pretty much similar the way it was in the last 2 years. That's why I'm thinking that I don't know, maybe the development rate is slow or something. So, and we have to set up the envoy proxies and all those things to get our server up and running. So that is another thing that if I just want to set up a server on my local machine, and a mesh is running on our local machine, right? And then I have to send some data to the front end. Then I don't want to set up another thing that envoy for the mesh server, right? So that is one more thing. But other than that, I right now in this thing. So
let me say this. I'm trying to think of how to say it in a pithy way or succinctly, and that is, I'll say this. Docker was built for developers to help make their lifecycle easier. Docker, as a Layer 5 partner, has been considering ingesting Meshery into Docker Desktop to help with that very use case or that very pain point you just said, Dev. In part because they recognize if they're going to let people, if they're going to be the packaging for microservices, if they're going to be if they're the container vendor and they're trying to facilitate developer workflows, well, developers are using, or infrastructure is running on service meshes, and more developers should be architecting and designing their software in the presence of a mesh and taking advantage of it. And yet that's another cog in the developer tool chain. How do you make the developer tool chain easy? The thing you just highlighted is the challenge to be solved. That's one thing to contemplate a little bit. Another thing to contemplate is that Meshery itself is capable of running without a service mesh. Well, that's good, and also not. Like, over time, we're going to want for Meshery itself to be a great reference implementation of what's possible to do in a software app when a mesh is present. And so, just food for thought, just as we go forward. We're 4 minutes over. Dev, that was fantastic. Thank you for that. We actually have a couple of topics that we didn't get to, which is great for next week. I won't ask if anyone has anything urgent, just because we want to be respectful of those that have meetings that they're 5 minutes late to now. If you do have things to bring up, there's we've got meetings, I think, every day of the week now. So we'll see you in one of those. Minimally, we'll see you next Friday. So thanks you everybody for coming. It's really, really good to see you. Good to see the fresh faces. Talk to you in a week. See you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Bye, everyone. And also, if
Bye.
someone has doubt, you can ping me on Slack, and maybe I will try to solve it. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.